All right, cool.
Okay. I've just been informed by the official Zoom pop-up that I am being recorded, and I will choose to continue as opposed to leaving the meeting.
All right, cool. What were the circumstances that led you to go to Mount Hermon and boarding school?
I did real good on all the tests. Mount Hermon offered me a full scholarship. They do that to a lot of people, but that's how I ended up being there.
Tell me about this bicycle business, because I was not aware. So you cooked up some senior projects. So give us a little overview of that.
They had the senior project option thing. I decided to ride cross country to raise money for the American Cancer Society, and I was really stupid about it. In fact, it was just a couple of weeks ago I realized exactly how stupid I was about it, because I ran into another guy who was doing it now, and I talked to him, and I'm like, wow, he's having a good time. What the hell was I doing? Basically, the idea was to go ride from Mount Hermon to the Grand Canyon and back during spring term. It was like 2 months, and get sponsors per mile and stuff and raise money for the American Cancer Society. But when I was planning it, the only thing I knew about long distance riding was there was this thing called a Century Day, which is 100 miles. And this was a big thing in the bicycle world. At this time now, not everybody was on bicycles. This was just before the whole thing with bicycles hit. In fact, it was that summer afterwards that bicycles went crazy. I said, okay, well, that sounds reasonable, right? If you're riding all day, 100 miles a day. All right, well, that's for people riding, with a car following with their stuff, and they're just riding a bike, and they're in the bicycle shorts, and they're doing this, right? They do 100 miles a day. I'm carrying 75 pounds of supplies. I'm in a winter coat. I'm in boots. I'm, all bundled up. And I've planned out the entire trip for 100 miles a day. Yeah. And it's like, so this guy I met a few months ago, he's looking at me. He's like, what the hell were you thinking? You out of your mind? And it just dawned on me, man, I should have made it a one-way trip and done 50 miles a day, and I would have had a great time. As it was, every day was like hell. I would get in. I had no places to stay. I had nothing arranged. I was going to knock on doors, which I literally did. I would knock on doors at 9 o'clock at night. I knock on your door and say, hi, I'm John. I'm doing this bike ride for the American Cancer Society. Can I stay here tonight? And, there was one lady in Pennsylvania. She's like, oh, yeah, sure. There's other people like, get out of here, I'm calling the police, There were a few alumni and other Cancer Society people, and then just do-gooders along the way that I stayed with, so I wasn't out on the road every night. But it was like, I've got to be in Durango, Colorado tomorrow night, or tonight, and the wind is against me, and I'm making about 5 miles an hour, and it's 100 miles away. So at times it was pretty miserable. Oh, another thing on that, Hal McCann was functional on this. He suggested and worked out that I got bicycling installed or approved as a sport at Mount Hermon. I don't know if that ever continued after I left, but if it did, ta-da, Hal McCann and me. So then on March 13th, which was the beginning of spring break, I left from Mount Hermon. I had breakfast with Stent in Cottage 3, and then I rode to Greenfield. He drove to Greenfield for the official send-off, and I had to ride there. Now, at the time that I was doing this, that structure was not there. That was a hill that I think the junior ski team used to use for practice. A lot of things are very different now. It's been 50 years.
This whole project came about because I had the idea of going back and taking a look at some of these spots where I'd taken a picture and seeing how it matches to what you would see there now. And I actually started with a shot out in Arizona, and it grew from there. Take advantage of the technology at hand. This is the book I never wrote.
And that damn dog came after me again. And J.D. Sloan was the school photographer. He tried to get a photograph of me trying to beat the dog off with my bicycle pump. And I realized that probably wouldn't be a good picture for the paper, so I put it away.
Now, some of these segments are choppy and some are almost movie-like. That depends on how many screen images I was taking as I advanced each segment. There were certain segments that I wanted a movie-like experience and other segments where I'm just making a record of the ground covered as quickly as possible. And on into Greenfield. This has totally changed. There was nothing here. This is a much, it starts much further out than it used to.
So then we went from the Greenfield Savings Bank. They sponsored the send-off, and we had donuts and everything. Of course, I'd stuffed myself at Stents. We had pancakes. I used to make pancakes at Stents. And then we had the official send-off. And then I had to come back because they didn't get the pictures. So they had to bring me back. And it's snowing. There's a half an inch of snow on the streets. And they send me off again, and everyone cheers again. And just as I get to the intersection, the light turns red. And I'm like, no way, I ain't stopping, right? I mean, I'm still in camera view. This is half a block away. I just went right through. Some Cadillac comes out the other way, and he stopped. And I didn't care one way or the other. It's like, you better stop because this is my day. I'm doing this. They should have closed the whole street. But I took off, and, it was in the snow. It was cold.
This is a site familiar to most Hermon students, I imagine. I was there a couple of times, friendlies. Stop in for an ice cream or sundae. And right next to that was Eastern Mountain Sports, one of the original outdoor outfitters. I bought my sleeping bag there and a few other things, and they gave me my tent. This is to show you the actual conditions that existed while I was doing this ride, as opposed to the pretty sunny, warm day shots that Google is providing. While I was taking these pictures, some kind of snowplow stopped by me and said, "Aren't you the kid who's riding to the Grand Canyon today?" I thought that was kind of funny. I told him I expected to be there by nightfall. I didn't expect to be going over a mountain on day one. I mean, as soon as I got out of Greenfield, I'd never been further west than that Friendly's and the Eastern Mountain Sport. And I'm going up the Mohawk Trail, and it's a bloody mountain. I didn't think I was going to hit any mountains until I got to Colorado. So this is one heck of a climb I'm doing, and it goes on for quite a while. And in fact, the whole day was full of climbs. It was quite exhausting. At one point, my legs just totally gave out. Now, this is something I saw while recreating this route on Google Street View that struck me as, hey, I remember that. There wasn't a lot of that, so that was pretty neat. Another thing I discovered while using Google Earth View was there was a road that bypassed this mountain completely and ended up in the same place, but it wasn't obvious on the map I was using or from this road. According to my notes at the time, this is about 1 hour in, and my feet had been getting kind of cold, so I made a stop here and pulled out my homemade winter riding boots and went into the police barracks there and warmed up a bit and changed into my boots, which were basically half-inch felt boot liners with a pair of totes over them and a masonite sole that I had made. And through Shelburne Falls. Struck me as a beautiful place. Very interesting. And we're riding and riding and riding At some point along this section of the road, I took these shots, but I can't pinpoint it now. But again, the actual conditions at the time: snow, cold, and wet. This was also the segment where my legs just totally gave out, and I just had to stop and take a break. This is a bit off, as this road, Route 9, was actually moved in 2006. So the Route 9I road was actually a bit off to one side of this. And this sign was somewhere along that road. At some point in the afternoon, Mrs. Mishovic caught up with me. She had decided to follow my route to make sure I wasn't lying along the side of the road somewhere. We stopped at a Friendly's, I think, and I got a chance to warm up a bit and have a nice cup of hot tea and a burger, I think. She followed me to my home for the night, which she had arranged with the Giannanos in Pittsfield. And that night we went to the Lennox house for dinner with the local Cancer Society group, where I gave a talk about my bike ride. This was the beginning of the PR aspect of this undertaking, something I had not expected or planned for. Back at the Giannanos, I took a hot bath and went to bed, and that was day one.